So what is a Practica? You have your class and then you have your social. What we do offer is a time after class or maybe a time another day where people get together to practice their moves and practice their technique.
The main goal is to get people to embody the new content, to practice what they learned, and to change partners and try the things with as many people as possible.
So no, I don't think it's unpleasant to have songs ending, to be honest. And I think that's actually quite helpful, especially for us as teachers. We're trying to dance with as many students as possible.
For example, leaders have this ongoing, never-ending, as old as time issue of feeling that they're boring. They don't know enough movements. Oh my God, my follower's going to die in my hands because they're so bored.
Yeah, I think most scenes don't need more socials. They need more practice.
They need more practice. And I think there's so much that we can gain from spending more time or to have more time for the beginners, students to practice fear-free. If they can practice fear-free, I think we might start walking towards the end or the reduction of this problem, leaders' retention.
Yes.
Retention.
And community growth in general.
Community growth in general.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of ZoukNerds. My name is Alisson Sanji, and today we have our amazing co-host, Gui Prada.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back.
And today we're going to continue our experiment, which is to read one of the questions from our Facebook group and share our experience as if this was a Q&A or a one-on-one session in person. So what is the question today, Gui?
Today, the question comes from Star Bolton. After some light investigation, comes from Hawaii. Yeah. And a question about the after-class 1 hour social that we call
Practica.
Yes, our practice time. And goes on to talk about like the main goal is to get people to embody the new content, to practice what they learned, and to change partners and try the things with as many people as possible. And she mentions the fact that someone suggested that instead of playing a Spotify playlist, they put a set list made by a DJ so people can get on a flow. And then they bring up the aspect of the long dances in a way. Yeah, when people just stick with one partner for a long time.
The marathons.
And then they realized that sometimes followers were going home without dancing a song or dancing very little. And then they ask in the end, is it really so unpleasant to allow songs to end? And that was the question. And this is a really good question because very recently, maybe 3 or 4 days ago, I was having this exact same conversation with an organizer. And it is something that at District Zouk, we also talked fairly much about. And recently, there was a decision made that we will play Spotify playlists again, not necessarily the set list for, particularly specifically for the Practica, because it does help to have a clear ending to the song when people who are in the beginning of their journeys, it's better for them to know, to have a cue. Oh, the song is over. I can change partners.
Yeah, and when we're talking about Spotify playlists, we really mean just music with a clear start and a clear end. It could be Spotify, it could be any playlist of music that you make it on your own, in your phone, or anything like that. The purpose here, we're talking about Practicas. So what is a Practica? So you have your class, and then you have your social. What we do offer, and this school also offers, is a time after class or maybe a time another day where people get together to practice their moves and practice their technique. And a lot of the times there are also teachers and more experienced people in the room who can help with some Q&A and some helping hands and corrections there. In this very specific scenario, we believe that is much, much better when there isn't really that DJ flow, when especially for new dancers, for students who are learning to dance, they appreciate a little help from the music to let them know, hey, this is already the end of one song. Ask your partner if they want to continue. or maybe just end the dance there and then ask your partner to dance again another time later on that same session or the next session. So no, I don't think it's unpleasant to have songs ending, to be honest. And I think that's actually quite helpful, especially for us as teachers when we're doing Practica sessions and we're trying to dance with as many students as possible. It's actually helpful for the both of us not to feel awkward or to feel bad as if, well, they only danced one song with me. They didn't enjoy dancing with me. That's absolutely not the point. The point is like, okay, we've danced with you. We've given you some feedback, or maybe we didn't give feedback, but we practiced, we enjoyed. And now I would like to attend to all of my other students, not just because I feel that I have to. Not at all. It's more because I want to do some research and some experiment with my students and check if how I'm teaching and how I'm explaining things are actually incorporating in their bodies. So it helps the students and it helps us. I think it's perfect.
Yeah, it's perfect because it addresses so many issues that people have in the beginning. For example, leaders have this ongoing, never-ending, as old as time issue of feeling that they are boring. They don't know enough movements. Oh my God, my follower's going to die. My hands, because they're so bored. This is a very present issue. And sometimes because Brazilian Zouk, and that's another aspect that we have talked so many times here at ZoukNerds, Brazilian Zouk doesn't have a set etiquette in terms of social dancing as some other dances have. As a matter of fact, Brazilian Zouk is the only social dance I dance out of the different styles that I know that blends music together. All the others, the music is over. There's like this half a second of break between songs, sometimes almost no break, but the songs are not blended together. So you have a clear finish for the song.
And when we go to a Latin party, maybe a salsa bachata party, and the DJ makes some blending, we're not talking about that. We're talking about clearly, sometimes the DJ has gone through 5 songs, but mashed so artistically that you don't know. And then you see it's being like 15 minutes.
Sometimes I get confused. Sometimes I don't know that the song has ended.
Yeah.
And as much as would be ideal that people are aware and that people are able and have the capacity and the possibility of ending the dance at any point, we know that that's not the case in reality, especially for beginners, especially for the beginner followers. Yeah. So I remember there was a class in our basics course at District Zouk that we had a specific training. I said, guys, I'm not going to say high five rotates. After the second song, followers thank the leader, go to the next leader clockwise. And I played a set. And it was a really interesting experiment because simply could not notice that the song ended. And it was actually, even in class, even as an exercise, it was hard to end the dance. It was hard to say thank you, even though everybody else was doing. Yeah, so there is like this aspect of being a beginner as a leader and as a follower who have their particular difficulties. The leader have the difficulty of thinking that they need to know this much stuff to do 2-3 songs. And the followers have the difficulty of ending the dance. So almost like when the leader, like Star said, when the leader came out with one follower, the follower has a hard time ending the dance. So creating the mechanisms and creating the confidence so both leader and follower can end the dance is important. However, since that takes time, why not give a little help with giving the people a clear ending to the song so there's a cue for them to change partners in the practicas, especially in the practicas, mostly in the practicas.
And even for experienced dancers who've been doing Brazilian Zouk for a long time and have heard to pretty much any DJ set that you can imagine out there, sometimes we get confused too. So imagine for students, there are moments where I find it quite interesting and frustrating at the same time. Sometimes I love it, sometimes I don't, which is like when the transition is so good that you're waiting for that confirmation of like, yes, this song has changed.
Yeah.
And then you get to the awkward moment where you've gone too far and now it's too late to change. And then you're like, oh, okay, I knew it. But so just confirming it was too late.
Songs with violins, stuff with saxophones, anything that like these instrumental songs, when they are blended too well, it's very hard for me. I admit here in national television, it's very hard for me at times.
There are some DJs that I think they take pleasure on the fact that they make people confused because they're really, really good at it. And I've spoken to them and they're like, well, people can stop dancing whenever they want to. I'm like, it's not that easy. It's not that easy. But yes, we are in full support and we actually think there are many, many benefits to go back a little bit and to have more clear end of songs. Even to my events that are organized, I do ask the DJs to make sure that for most of their sets, especially for those DJs playing the first few hours of the night,
yes,
to make the music more easy for people to practice, more easy phrasing, not too many crazy instruments that will confuse their timing, and most importantly, clearer, not completely stop-start, but clearer transitions, where people can have a sense of like, okay, I could continue, I could stop. Maybe, towards the end of the night, or if the social is going really late, then you can go more into a vibe of like, let's just go. And most of the times, by that time, the newer dancers have already left as well because they've danced enough, or they're tired, or they are getting ready for the class next morning at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So then that's fine. So there is a place and time for everything, and definitely for practicas and for start of regular socials, even your Saturday social. We do think it's important, and we recommend you to think about having easier type of playlist to encourage and to also get people more rotating and dancing with each other on the dance floor, so we don't have marathons from the start to the end of the socials.
Yeah. There's something interesting that Star says, I hope students will try their new move socially with at least 3 different people. And I think that's really important, really valuable, because there's another thing that they mentioned here, that, that development comes with doing the same thing with different partners to see if that works. So specifically for the beginner students, specifically for the moment right after a class, it's really nice if we can do that. Brazilian Zouk still doesn't have the culture of actual Practica. The actual Practica, the volume is really not nearly as loud as in a social. It's a little lower. Lights are fully on. You can stop the dance and like, let's do this again. Like a full-on Practica has this very informal aspect to it that we still don't have in Brazilian Zouk. So if we can bring that more often, I think would be really good for the beginner students.
Yeah, I think most scenes don't need more socials. They need more practice.
They need more practice.
Especially for those newer dancers who are too afraid to actually jump into a full social on Friday night or Saturday night because they feel like, no, I'm not ready yet. A Practica right after the class, perfect. A Practica maybe another time, another day, also very good. Because then after a few of those, they will go like, you know what? I think I'm ready to just give it a go and go to the social, the once a month social or something like that, instead of having them wait for 6 months of 1 month socials to then, have their first practice experience.
Yeah. So if we can make people's lives easier and take out all the shoulds that might exist in our heads in regards to how they supposed to behave, treat the beginner students as someone who is still getting to know in and outs, that's the expression I think, of the scene. They're still getting acquainted with how things work. And some of them are still very frightened. They are on the verge of giving up. They're on the verge of letting go, And And I think there's so much that we can gain from spending more time or to have more time for the beginners, students to practice fear-free. If they can practice fear-free, I think we might start walking towards the end or the reduction of this problem, leaders retention.
Yes.
Retention.
And community growth in general.
Community growth in general, 100%.
Yes, Practicas help a ton.
Yeah. So put an end to the song, that's fine, no problem at all. Yeah. That's the summary of everything we said so far.
Exactly. And thank you, Star Bolton, for this question and for this discussion that a lot of people got involved. And for those of you who do have a question, please post them on our Facebook group in ZoukNerds, and you might be in the next episode.
Indeed.
So thank you. Beijos, beijos, abraços, and ciao.
Ciao.